talcum powder has been linked to ovarian cancer. Find out more at drugsafetynews.com.
Essure, a permanent form of birth control for women, received a black box warning recently because it was causing extremely dangerous side effects in women. Joining me now to explain what's happening is attorney Travis Lepasier. So Travis, before we kind of get into what has happened so far with Essure, tell us quickly what exactly this Essure product is.
Essure is a female contraceptive that's intended to be permanent, and what the device is are small metal coils that are inserted into a woman's fallopian tubes that will eventually block her fallopian tubes off and will have the effect of acting as a contraceptive.
And so just recently the FDA announced that they were going to put a black box warning on this product. What are the side effects? Like, what exactly is happening once women have this implanted? I mean, where's the danger?
Sure. Well, one of the big problems that we're seeing with this device is that it's breaking or migrating inside the women's body, a woman's body, and that can obviously have serious consequences for the women that are injured by the device. They have to often have a complete hysterectomy, removing their uterus and fallopian tubes just to get the device out and identify, where it's migrated to. That's major surgery for these women, and it can often lead to catastrophic, life-altering, a life-altering process for these women. So it's definitely detrimental to these women who are suffering these injuries. And the thing about it is there's a lot of women out there that are suffering these injuries. I get calls every day, and we're seeing that the device migrates, that it perforates the fallopian tubes when it's inserted. There's also an issue with the metal that the device is composed of. There's a nickel component to it, and many women are having an allergic reaction to it, and they're not warned that nickel is in the device, and they're not tested for nickel allergy.
And with the hysterectomy comes a lot of other medical side effects just from that. I mean, it completely throws hormone levels off balance. A woman will likely have to be on hormone pills or injections for the rest of her life. And so I guess kind of like every other case we see involving some kind of faulty product, the big question is, what did the company know, and how long did they know this before the public found out?
Sure. Well, the device has been on the market since 2002, and they clearly had to do studies to get their approval for it before that. And at the time, they understood that the device was causing perforation, that the device was migrating, and that there were serious complications associated with use of the device. Keep in mind, Bayer is a large pharmaceutical company. They're the manufacturers of this device, and they thoroughly understood what the product was and the issues that are associated with it. There's also indications that they had reports, significant amount of reports, up to 16,000 reports of perforation that they did not report to the FDA. And Bayer's explanation was, well, we didn't report these perforations because the women hadn't reported any pain yet. So that was their whole justification for not reporting something in the neighborhood of 16,000 incidents of perforation.
So the 16,000 incidences where there was perforation, there was side effects, but because there was no reported pain to the company, they just decided that this was something the FDA, that the rest of the consumers in the United States didn't need to know about. I mean, look, this is some, truly disgusting corporate behavior that we're seeing here. And unfortunately, this has become the norm. And especially, now that you have the FDA that really works for the pharmaceutical companies, does whatever they can in their power to keep products on the market when they shouldn't be, and to approve products that shouldn't be approved. I mean, 60% of the testing that the FDA uses to approve a product comes directly from the pharmaceutical industry. The FDA does very little testing of their own anymore. And so instead of pulling this product off, they've put a black box label on here. And so what exactly does that mean?
Well, it means that they're indicating the initial warnings were not sufficient, that there are problems with the device that need to be brought to a woman's attention before she makes a decision to have an eSure implant. A black box warning is the most prominent warning that the FDA can have. So it's going to be on the product labeling and the product information so that it's clear that this device has serious side effects that are associated with, such as migration, breaking off, and perforation. So the black label, the black box warning is certainly beneficial as far as putting women on notice to these issues. But from another standpoint, as far as women who have already been hurt by this device, it perhaps opens up the courthouse doors. Keep in mind, the eSure device was approved through the pre-market approval process, and that often affords defendants a shield against liability when their devices cause harm. So now that the FDA is updating the label and putting a black box warning on there, it takes that argument, the preemption argument that comes along with the pre-market approval, and makes it not as sturdy of a shield for Bayer. And perhaps the women who have been injured by this device will now be able to pursue litigation against Bayer for their injuries. Before the FDA's action this past Monday, many of the women who had been injured by this were facing a very daunting uphill legal battle, even though it was clear that this device is what caused their harm.
Well, Travis, luckily, we do have people like you out there fighting back against this kind of corporate conduct on behalf of these women who have been severely injured, by this defective product. So thank you for telling us the story, and thank you for all of the work that you're out there doing every day.
Thank you.